Hey guys, do you also want to grow your syngonium plant into a lush green and a bushier one? Then this is the correct video you are in. Feeding your plant in a regular interval of time is a very good idea to make your plant a healthy one. For me, I used to put a handful of vermicompost, which is a natural organic fertilizer, into the syngonium plant once in 20 days to maintain the health of the plant. Putting your plant in a pot and pot situation is a very great idea to move them around whenever you required, or you can change your pot. Even when you water them, it will not create any mess situation. To water them any of my plant, I used to put a tray underneath so that it can avoid a mess situation, and before watering I used to analyze the soil condition. The soil condition tells me it's the right time to water them or not. If the soil doesn't stick to your finger, then it's the correct time to water your plants thoroughly. As mostly of my indoor plants, I used to water them once in 5 to 4 days, so I used to water them thoroughly until I find that the water is coming out from the bottom holes. This will ensure that the water has reaches to the toes of the pot. After few minutes of watering, I ensure that the water has been completely drained out the excess water. Then I used to water them again in the fancy pot to maintain the style of the plant. Always remember, if the soil is sticking to your finger, then no need of watering them, as because the soil is wet enough and it will require 2 to 3 days more to dry it up. The most common situation you have came across to any of the plant is the burning of the tips or the browning of tips, which is one of the most common problem you will face of any of the plant. To get rid of this situation, the simple trick is that to analyze your soil and water them properly, because this situation only arises due to the lack of water or the excess water, which is the overwatering situation. If you will clearly observe, then you will find that the new leaves doesn't have any such problem, because I have overcome such situation of watering. Keeping this plant away from the direct sunlight also benefits your plant to avoid such situation of burning of leaves or the drying of leaves. As the time will pass, you will find that the vines are growing in a syngonium plant, which will in turn make the plant a laggy one and will not turn into a bushier one. So in spite of them, I used to cut them at the tips, similar as of the pothos or the money plant. Look, this is the vine plant where every node contains the leaf, or you can see the syngonium is growing. So at that situation, when the vine goes long and long, I used to cut them at the tips and propagate them into another plant. The propagation video is on the recent video on the YouTube channel. I will give the link below in the description box so that you can have a proper view of it. Remember, fill the water just above the node area to maintain the health of the plant. After you have cut, then you will find a new growth started at the lateral branches, similar as the money plant, which will in turn make my plant into a bushier one. So this is the propagation which I have done earlier, and you can see the long roots has been grown so dense and quite well enough. Now, the one of the most important factor to maintain the health of the plant is the light condition. I used to pot this plant or place my plant in a bright light condition where it doesn't receive a direct amount of sunlight but the indirect sunlight which comes from the side window sill. Giving them a proper indirect bright light condition makes my plant a bushier and bushier one. Avoid keeping this plant in a darker corner, which makes this plant a laggy and somewhat uneven shape. After quite some time, you will find or you will notice that the plant is leaning in one direction, that is towards the bright light condition. In that situation, I used to rotate my plant in some or the other way, or you can say the opposite direction, so that the plant can have a even growth. Rotating the plant also benefits to get the proper light condition in all direction to all the leaves. Misting. This plant loves to get misting. Not only this plant but also the other plants which have the aerial roots growing at the node area loves to get misting so that it can create a moisture around the environment. I used to mist this plant once in a day to maintain the health of the plant and grow proper healthy aerial roots. Apart from the plant, this plant is also growing aerial roots at the bottom part. But the aerial roots are quite visible right now. I have covered the one layer of the soil at the top so that the plant can have a proper growth because the roots were visible very clearly. After that, you can see the plant is growing and popping out new leaves and growing in a better form.